Hello and welcome to the first episode in a hopefully long-running series for my YouTube channel. I'm going to be calling it 100 Casts because I'm going to be casting 100 games of League of Legends. Shoutcasting, for those of you who don't know, is a term which simply means adding color commentary or analysis to a game, to a gameplay, to make it more interesting and to help people understand it better as the gameplay goes on. And I'm going to be doing this series specifically to practice shoutcasting. I have not done it very much in the past, and so I figure it's a good idea to start doing it if I want to do it as a hobby or even a career later on in life. As such, these videos are not going to be incredibly high-quality shoutcasting, at least not at first. I hope later on they will be, because this is where I'm practicing. So if you want to watch these videos, be my guest. I would love that. I would love you to watch them. I'd love to get some criticism. I don't really want people shouting gay, faggot, lord, noob, butt sucks at me, because that's not exactly helpful criticism. There's not much I can take from that. But if you want to tell me that my diction is incorrect with a certain word, or that I have something entirely wrong about the meta, or about what lane is mid and what lane is top, go ahead and tell me. I'll take it into account, and I'll shift around, practice, get better at shoutcasting with you helping me and me simply doing it over and over again 100 times. So, without further ado, let's get into the first match. This first replay I have for you guys is sent in by someone named Megolaj from the European West servers. He sent me in a replay of his Ranked 5s team playing. I believe it's in High Silver currently, though most of the players on the team are Diamond Platinum level. It's just the team is fairly new, and so it's still climbing through the ladder. It's a pretty decent match, fun to watch, and, well, yeah, let's get to it. Alright, so we see the two teams starting off each of their fountains, as all League of Legends games start. And, well, let's just take a moment to talk about the matchups here while we have some time as they're walking to lane. In mid lane, we've got a Talon versus a Lissandra, and personally, I really think that the Lissandra is going to be winning that matchup, at least early, because of the range advantage. It's a really huge deal that Lissandra can just auto-attack Talon over the creep every time he comes up to try and CS. In the top lane, it's a Nidalee versus a Gragas, both of which are fairly new additions to the top lane. Nidalee since her rework and Gragas since his, both of them becoming sort of bruisers in their own right. Nidalee more of an AD bruiser now, and Gragas becoming an AP bruiser, both of them really liking to build Iceborne Gauntlet, though. I'm expecting both of them to build that at some point in the game, though item builds can go many, many different ways. It's one of the beauties of the game of League of Legends. We do see blue team here going for the purple side's red buff. Maybe they're planning an invade of some kind. They are wandering up towards the top of it. Skarner and Karma are there right now, with Talon and Gragas sort of zoning out Lissandra from the mid lane. Talon spamming his laugh there, that little animation where he lifts up the knife. Seems to be making a rude gesture over at Lissandra. The whole 5 members of blue team are now in the top side jungle of purple side and have warded it up pretty well. They actually have a pink ward over there in near the red buff of purple side, and now they're filtering on down towards their own red buff, where Maokai and Ezreal have been busily wandering through and getting some vision of their own in there. So both teams are starting off the game with decent vision in the enemy team's red buff area of the jungle. Nidalee's landed a spear into Gragas, and already is trading some stuff. It's trading back and forth with him. Got her mark onto him, and did some decent damage, with Skarner starting in his red and Maokai starting in his blue. And the mid lane matchup going about as I expected, though it's only 2 minutes in, with Lissandra landing a few autos onto Talon every time he comes up to try and get some of that delicious CS. There's another auto landed onto him. Bot lane, however, I think is going to be going towards the Tristana Karma combo, if only because I personally really have a lot of faith in Karma. She's one of my favorite supports at the moment because of the base damage on her empowered Q. It does a ridiculous amount of damage for such a low cooldown and cheap ability. Top lane seems to be going in favor of Nidalee, who does have the range advantage and just leveled up quicker than the Gragas, pushing a bit harder early, so she does have the advantage, forcing Gragas to pop a health pot there, of which he only has 2, though they are biscuits, so it's going to be regenning him a lot. Gragas having gone a bit deep into that to that utility tree in his masteries. Karma getting some poke onto her from the Lulu there and landing an auto or two back, though she comes out lower on that trade than the Lulu did. And top lane, a little brawl is breaking out with Nidalee landing a mark on Gragas and leaving him for an auto and her Q, dealing some decent damage and taking a bit from the minions in return, but not as much as she did to him. And she does have the heal for sustain, whereas Gragas has his passive for sustain. So really, the top lane matchup, if you think about it, could go either way. They're both, oddly enough, fairly similar champions. Long-range, pokey Qs, decent dueling once they actually jump in on you, and a lot of sustain. So far, neither lane really getting ahead from any of the others. Tristana's the only one who has a decent CS lead. There's Nidalee leaping under the tower, perhaps over-calculating a bit how much damage she can deal and take in that scenario. Gragas actually getting first blood off camera there, while Maokai gang spot runs under tower, nearly takes out Tristana, but she manages to rocket jump away as Skarner comes in from the river, getting onto the Lulu, forcing her flashing after her. Lulu is out of mana and thus can't really do much to escape the Skarner's wrath, and she goes down, and Skarner's still on the chase, going after Maokai now, who's forced to flash away into the safety of his tower just as Talon arrives to just tax a little bit of the creep and run on back to his lane. Overall, a 3-0 kill advantage for blue team at the end of all that action. Gragas just pushing out top lane before he backs, gonna get those minions underneath the tower so that Nidalee is denied at least some of them. Though with the rework where she's able to turn into her Cougar form now at earlier levels, it is easier for her to farm under tower. Gragas actually going in on the Nidalee, who has just had an opportunity to go back to base, has an extra Doran's Blade now, ignites him, flashes forward, leaps onto him, and takes him out. That's a kill taken back for purple team. That was, Gragas stayed around a bit too long. Maybe he should have backed before coming back to lane there, because Nidalee came back with the item advantage there. And actually in mid lane, Talon here has the creep advantage, just barely, only by 2, so not much of one, over Lissandra, though I expected him to have a disadvantage here, so really that's quite good play by the Talon, keeping up in the CS there against a matchup which really he should be falling behind in. And as far as bot lane is going, the Tristana and Ezreal are exactly the same in terms of CS, though Ezreal's taking some poke as Lulu goes off to ward and is left all by himself, but Karma, maybe overestimating herself a little bit, is forced to flash away when Lulu returns so that she can dodge out the Glitter Lance and not fall prey to the good amount of damage that a Lulu-Ezreal combo can output. Karma popping a health pot there, and just some more trade going back and forth between the bot lane. As top lane, let's take a look at top lane here. Gragas has a Sheen and a Doran's Ring to Nidalee's 2 Doran's Blades, so Gragas has the advantage here, but Skarner is down bot, and he's bringing some more pain to the Lulu, who, because she burned Flash last time, turns out to be easy prey, and Skarner brings himself yet another kill. He's 2-0 at this point, with the other kill in that earlier situation going to the Tristana. Talon engages onto Lissandra, but perhaps overestimates his own damage or underestimates hers, takes a bit more than he expected, and has to walk away from that engagement, losing the trade. He does have some health pots, though, and he pops one of them, so he'll be alright. He has health pots and Crystalline Flask. Quite a lot of sustain on that Talon there in the mid. Blue team has started Dragon with Skarner tanking it, and purple team has no vision whatsoever on this, so it looks like blue team's going to be getting a clean Dragon here. Yep, Skarner smites it away, and that is a total of about 2,500 gold lead for blue team here. It's starting to build up a little bit, and it's only going to get worse because Tristana does not exactly fall off late game. She becomes a bit of a monster. Gragas chasing Nidalee out of the lane despite a level disadvantage, neatly sidestepping the spear there. That was a good little dodge he did there. Happy feet. And level 6 nearly here for bot lane. Bot lane's level 6 going to be a bit interesting because Karma doesn't actually get a power spike at level 6. Getting her ult at level 1 means that at level... Nidalee throwing the spear the wrong way there. I'll get back to the Karma thing in just a second. As top lane is battling it out, Nidalee losing that trade probably because her mouse twitched or something and she threw the spear in the wrong direction. Karma here is using her Q as a zoning tool to land the W onto Lulu and get the second proc of it, snaring her there for a bit of extra poke. That was quite well played there by the Karma. I like that little trick she used there. I don't know if it was on purpose. Maybe she just missed the cue, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt there. Say that she used it purposely as a laning tool, as a zoning tool to keep the Lulu next to her so that her W could proc twice. Lulu going a bit too close there, taking some poke, but Tristana's got to be careful here. Yep, if she's too close to the tower when the dot is still ticking, she'll start taking tower shots. And oh, we have Talon and Skarner in Maokai's jungle just wrecking him as he goes to check that bush next to his red buff. And that pink ward from the beginning of the game is still there as Talon manages to kill Maokai right on top of it. Maybe now that they've seen it, they'll get rid of it. But that's another kill for Blue side, who's taking this game by storm, it seems. 5-1 kills so far at the 8.5 minute mark. And Gragas seems to be bullying out the Nidalee from this lane, forcing her back under tower, because she still only has the 2 Doran's blades to his Sheen and Doran's ring, which is going to be giving him a good amount more damage than her right now. So she did just back. Let's see what she buys. She gets a Chalice, which is going to give her some mana sustain in lane, as well as magic resist to deal with Gragas' damage. So that's a pretty good pickup. I'm not sure what she's going to be turning that into, though, because with the Doran's Blades and the Longsword, it looks like she's going AD, but the Chalice really only turns into AP items or Mikhail's, which would be a bit odd for a top lane Nidalee to build. So maybe she just wants to have the Chalice for now and is going to build other items and turn it into a... Or maybe she's going hybrid. Hybrid Nidalee. I haven't seen a hybrid Nidalee, though. She was recently reworked, and people have been playing around with different builds, so maybe hybrid Nidalee is the way to go now. We'll have to see later on in the game. Lulu just warding off an attack as Skarner is sitting near mid lane. Lissandra goes in, Talon turns invisible to avoid any CC, and then silences the Lissandra just as Skarner ults her. Some CC overlap there that maybe they did by accident. Lissandra flashes away at low health, and Maokai flashes after the low health Talon, autoing him and taking him out as Skarner, without any mana, is forced to walk away from the fight, with it going 1-0 in favor of purple side. Gragas here, pretty low health in the top lane, seeing as Nidalee is backed and has the item advantage now, and he's able to zone him out a bit. Sorry for that. The screen went black for a second there. I'm not entirely sure why. I'll have to check that later. And bot lane, Maokai looked like he tried to gank, but it's pretty hard to gank a Tristana and Karma. They have speed buffs, snares, knockbacks, leaps. They're just very, very hard to get onto. However, Karma backed, whereas Tristana didn't, so she's forced to use the ult just to keep the enemy bot lane off of her as they notice that she's alone and take advantage of the situation. To get some good harass onto her, force her ult out, and get some free farm for themselves. Because of that item advantage, the Nidalee seems to be getting a little bit of a lead in top lane, though she's not getting a lead in CS. She's nearly 20 whole CS down to this Gragas, who seems to be farming quite well for himself. He's got 73 at 11 minutes, and here's Skarner and Talon at top lane. I don't think Nidalee's going to last very long here. No, she instantly explodes, just deleted off the map by that Talon ulti. And she was a bit too far overextended without very much vision there. Maokai finding the blue team's pink ward, wants to go for it, but Skarner's defending that thing pretty dang well, and I don't think Maokai's going to be getting that anytime soon. He does ping it, though. He realizes it's there, and he's probably going to come back for it later sometime when Skarner is a bit more distracted and isn't trying to stop him from taking it. Dragon is up in about 1 minute and 12. We remember blue team took it last time. Perhaps they will have the timer. Most likely they'll have the timer. These are some pretty good players here, and I think they're probably going to be going for it. And here's Maokai at that pink ward that I mentioned. Skarner's busy taking his wolves, so he can't get there in time to stop Maokai from killing it, and he actually gets hit by the little soccer ball that Maokai left as a trap in the bush. Not that that's going to do much. Maokai is building pure tank, so his damage is not exactly astronomical, but he is going to be quite useful in team fights for soaking up lots of damage with his ult running, and Maokai's quite a good tank because of that 30% damage reduction on his ult. Gragas here, walking up to the Nidalee with his fully completed Iceborne Gauntlet, dealing quite a bit of damage with his W and the Iceborne Gauntlet proc there. But Nidalee is able to heal most of it back, and it's just relentlessly landing auto-attack after auto-attack onto Gragas, bringing him below half health. Here's Skarner down bot, trying to make something happen, but Ezreal simply arcane shifts over the wall, and Maokai's nearby too, and Nidalee's taking top lane. Nidalee's taking some good harass up on top lane from the Gragas, and Gragas is taking it back, but here down near bot, we have a team fight going on with Maokai popping his ult and getting Lulu ulted, and Lissandra going in, but immediately getting ulted by the Skarner. She stuns the Skarner after the ult ends, and Tristana gets a double kill up towards the top of the screen as Ezreal shifts onto the Talon, who's quite low after all of that focus in the fight, and goes down. Karma there just walking past Lulu as she dies to the Tristana dot. A little bit of BM there. And I don't think Ezreal gets away from this one, though. Perhaps Blue Team's going to be taking this dragon. Karma starts it, shields herself for a few of the dragon's auto attacks. They do drop a pink ward and get rid of that trinket ward that Ezreal had dropped over the wall, so Purple Team now has no vision of this dragon, and it looks like they're not sending anybody to contest. Though Maokai is rushing towards it, but he's far enough away that I don't think they're going to get there in time. Skarner's probably going to be able to smite this one before he does smite it, but actually it's an auto attack from Tristana that takes it, though that's not really that important seeing as the enemy team was nowhere nearby to contest it, so it goes to Blue Team either way. It's just a little bit of a faux pas from Skarner there. Blue buff going over to Lissandra as Maokai and Lissandra are taking that one, and Ezreal is back in the mid lane while Lissandra comes there with her newly gotten blue buff to face up once more against the Talon. Gragas is alone in the top lane, pushing in towards that tower where Nidalee is returning. And we have Talon and Lissandra back in the mid lane. Now, this matchup, I still think could go in the direction of Lissandra at this point. Talon's gotten a bit of an advantage because he's been roaming and getting some kills effectively. He's 2-2 right now. But Lissandra is really, really good at being an anti-assassin because she has a ton of peel with her W and her Q. Her W snaring anyone in a circle around her, and her Q being a spammable, fairly effective slow. And also her ult makes her invulnerable. It's essentially a free Zhonya's that also does damage and slows anyone around you, so she's very, very good at not being assassinated. A brawl going on up here in the top lane and in mid lane. Lissandra takes a good amount of damage from Talon jumping in on her and just unloading all of his abilities. She goes down to about half health, but she takes about a third of Talon's health off, so Talon does win the trade, but he doesn't win it incredibly cleanly. Gragas pushing up the top lane with that Iceborne Gauntlet and his Q, able to shove waves out real fast. Maokai found another pink ward in the same spots, just smashing that with his big tree arm. Pink wards are no match for giant walking trees. And Karma taking a good amount of poke actually from the Ezreal there, overestimating her own ability to trade with him. Taking probably a bit more than she expected. Lulu going a bit aggressive, landing Glitter Lance and E on onto the Karma, who shields most of the damage though, and gets away perfectly fine. Maokai here at the mid lane, but there's a pink ward that spots him out. However, Skarner is up at top, lands the slow on Nidalee, and I don't really think that she's got anywhere to go. Gragas body slamming in, landing the slow from his Iceborne Gauntlet. Nidalee juking back and forward between the bushes twice, getting a leap off, but just not enough juke. She is not a good enough jukebox, and she goes down pretty quickly. However, Talon flashes over the wall into the Dragon Pit after that Maokai, but maybe a bit too ham. He does not anticipate 3 members of the Purple Team being there who all take him out, but he does at least get the Maokai, so it's a 1-for-1 trade, and he still has a 1-to-1 KDA with a 3-3-3 across the board down there. Gragas and Skarner are pushing top lane. The Iceborne Gauntlet, very effective for taking towers. The proc damage does affect towers, so it's not as good as a Lichbane or a Triforce, but it's still extra damage on towers, so Gragas can take towers fairly quickly. But Lissandra is here in the middle laying some damage onto the mid tower in response to top lane getting pushed in like that. Skarner's coming in from the river, so she might be in a bit of a pickle, but she does have her E to escape, and she doesn't even need to. Skarner not going for that because he doesn't have enough backup. Gragas was close by, but not close enough by to make it easy. And Ezreal, Arcane shifts in after ulting towards the low health Karma, but he misses his Q, and even if he had hit, he probably didn't have enough damage to follow up on that, because Lulu was fairly low health and they had no vision on many other people on the map there, so it was a bit dangerous to tower dive. Gragas and Skarner both coming towards bot now. They found Maokai in his jungle, and I don't know how this is going to end up for Maokai. He does have a lot more of his teammates nearby than they do. But Skarner goes in for the ult anyways. Gragas body slamming into him. Lulu ulting the Maokai. Maokai has his ult running. He's going down very slowly, but he does go down in the end as Gragas explodes him with one of his barrels, and that is the end of the tree. And we have... there's no dragon timer, so it's not coming up very soon, so they're at least not going to get dragon off of that, but I'm assuming Blue Team does have the timer, and they'll probably be there when it does come up, in time for it to come up. Talon popping his Yumu's, leaping onto the Lissandra, who then claws away and ults herself, so showing off her ability to fend off an assassin right there pretty effectively. Talon uses everything he's got and barely has no chance at all of assassinating this Lysandra, though he can simply kill her teammates pretty effectively, being 3-3-3 with that 132 CS. He goes in again, this time silencing the minion before jumping in, but Maokai is there, presses his ult, and reduces all of her damage, all of the Talon's damage by 30%, and Lysandra gets a Lulu shield. Lulu was nearby and sped buff herself in to shield her, so Talon does not get the kill despite Lysandra dropping quite low. He must be a little bit salty about that one. Isn't that right, Nidalee, whose name is Get Salty? Nidalee basing in the top, speaking of Nidalee, and Lysandra and Ezreal also basing, so blue team has a lot of people back at the base right now, and purple team seems to be closing in around the mid lane. Maybe they're going to be going for this outer tower. They have bot and top outer tower, so they probably want to complete their collection by simply throwing a bunch of people towards mid and pushing up the lane, and they do have the lead in terms of gold right now, about a 6k gold lead, so they could probably win a team fight if they played it correctly. And they get some damage onto the mid tower before having to back off and push up another wave to bring to the tower. Purple team has mustered a defense of Maokai, Lysandra, and Lulu. That might not be enough to save the tower. They do seem to have pretty decent wave clear. Lysandra has decent AoE, and Lulu can glitter lance the wave. So they push them off, but blue team does have a ward on purple team's blue buff, and seems to be going for that with Talon, Skarner and Tristana over there taking that buff. Talon leaps over the wall to the blue buff, and yes, it does go to him. And so blue team successfully steals the other team's blue buff, and are now down in the dragon pit, and they start dragon. However, they're trading their top tower for this dragon, as Nidalee has been pushing this whole time while they were taking blue buff and pushing up mid. They do take the dragon with no contest. Purple team couldn't really do much about that, but they could push up mid lane. They get the tower, but they all get hit by Gragas' ulti. And it looks like they might be in a bit of a pickle here. Lysandra ulting herself to go invulnerable for a little bit, but she gets Lulu ulted. Maybe she can survive this? No, the damage is a bit too much from that Tristana. Talon getting a double kill there, and Ezreal arcane shifting and flashing to escape the situation. And after that brawl, blue team is going to get mid tower in addition to the earlier dragon and blue buff. They're just racking up advantages at this point. Pushing up the mid lane still. Maybe they'll even be able to get the second tower here, since it's only Nidalee and Ezreal who are here to defend it. They get some damage on it. Gragas jumps in, followed by Tristana onto the Ezreal, but Ezreal simply arcane shifts away. He's a bit of a slippery one, hard to lock down there. He ults, nearly taking out the Karma, who accidentally shields the cannon minion instead of herself, but luckily was at high enough health to survive anyway. Nidalee lands her mark onto Gragas. Is she going to keep chasing this? No, she turns off, doesn't want to risk it. She's too far away from the rest of her team that could turn back and maybe kill her. Maokai flashing forward to get the twisted advance onto Talon, who then uses his ult to turn invisible, but he gets ignited and auto-attacked by the Ezreal and goes down. Nidalee lands a mark onto Gragas, leaps. Look at the range on that leap, leaping really far ahead, but Gragas flashes in onto the safety of his tower and manages to escape Nidalee's incredibly long range on her leap there. And purple team now is pushing up the mid lane while they have the man advantage on the map. Ezreal lands his Essence Flux onto all of his teammates to increase the attack speed, taking out the tower a bit more quickly. And Maokai twisted advances onto the Skarner, drops a sapling and slows him down a bit, but they don't quite have enough damage to wreck through all the health that tanky Skarner has on top of his shields, so they back off after blue team has all respawned. They don't want a team fight right now. They did just get a tower, but they're not really ahead in gold. They're actually behind by about 8,000, so a team fight would probably not go in their favor now. And it wouldn't be the best course of action. They should just take the tower and they get out scot-free. Ezreal, taking the purple side's blue buff, has had double buff for a while now. He got it from killing someone earlier on, I forget exactly who. And then he's just refreshed his blue buff and refreshed his red buff, and he's had double buff for longer than should be allowed. Longer than should be legal. Ezreal's breaking some law there with that many double buffs. Nidalee waiting in the bush here near the Talon. Speaking of Nidalee, looking at her build now, she's seemed to got half of every item in the game. She's got a Giant's Belt, a Bilgewater Cutlass, a Chalice. I'm not exactly sure what she's going for here. Seems to be some sort of hybrid tanky Nidalee. thing. It seems to be dealing enough damage. She's been able to hold her own with Gragas a few times, but I don't know, maybe a bit more focus or at least finishing one of those items could be a good idea. She seems to be going for a Blade of the Ruined King, some sort of Sunfire, perhaps? I'm not sure. We'll figure out later in the game exactly what she has in mind with that build, and perhaps we'll be wowed by it. I don't know. These players are probably a few leagues above me, quite literally, so maybe they know something I don't. The blue team is pushing up mid lane again, all 5 of them there. Nidalee just rushing to help her team out. Maybe we'll see a 5-on-5 at some point soon in the future. Talon off to the side, separated from his team, might be chased down. No, he manages to walk away, but Ezreal has caught Karma out, and Maokai twisted advances onto her, and Ezreal fires his ult over. It looks like this is an advantage for purple side. But Talon comes in from the side, lays out all his damage, but doesn't manage to take anyone out. This is purple team's getting the advantage here in this fight, but Nidalee overestimates her damage a bit, jumps onto the Tristana. Tristana then leaps in and takes out the Lissandra for a double kill, gets the reset, leaps forward, gets a triple kill on the Lulu, and purple team simply did not account for the amount of damage Tristana would have at this point in the game. The Fat Man is chasing down a tree and a Prodigal Explorer through the jungle. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch either of them. They seem to be splitting up and splitting his focus pretty well. They both escape. However, blue team's going to push down the mid lane now after that victory there, and probably take this inhibitor tower. So, all in all, victory there for blue team in that little engagement. They do indeed take the tower. Nidalee's here with home guards to try and push them away. They seem to, yeah, they're running away from this. They don't want to fight. Gragas uses his ult there to disengage and uses his Q to slow a few people from purple team, and they all seem to be getting out safely. Yeah, another Q will slow the Nidalee. Doesn't look like anyone from purple team is going to be able to catch up to the remaining members of blue team in time to do anything useful with the small man advantage they had there for a moment after their tower went down. They are rushing over to topside, though, where they have a minion wave. Oh, Skarner's at the wolf camp. I wonder if they're going to find him. They pop a ward over the wall. They see Skarner, but yeah, he's Skarner. He gets away. He's fine. The purple team rushes over to top lane, where a minion wave had been pushing for them in, and it looks like they're going to be able to get this inner turret here, so at least that's an advantage. A small consolation prize for losing their mid inhibitor turret. They get top outer turret, so this might be able to hold them in the game here, this bit of global gold. They're still not ahead, but they're holding on. They're certainly holding on. They're not out of it yet. They're not being crushed. Though, to be fair, the Tristana's getting a little bit out of hand. She's 8-0-5 at this point, has a Static Shiv and an Infinity Edge and a Last Whisper, so she's going to be hurting quite a lot. And in the next team fight, they're not going to be able to afford to simply ignore her like they did in the last one. They didn't really use very many of their cooldowns on her. They killed off anyway, team fight's happening now. Talon uses his ulti, and Lissandra lasting a huge amount of time in the middle there with Maokai's damage reduction, Lulu ult, and her own ult, but she goes down, giving Tristana the kill that makes her legendary, and Tristana chases down the Lulu for a double kill there, and somewhere in that the Maokai went down to the Gragas. I didn't quite see how. There was a lot of circles and a lot of explosions going on, and it was all a bit confusing. Blue team pushes up and takes the middle inhibitor, and it looks like they're going to peel off and maybe go for the Baron here. Yeah, they're wandering through the red side jungle on their way to Baron. Probably going to leave some wards behind them in their wake to watch for any of the remnants of purple team that might want to come after them to try and steal that Baron away from them. There is a ward in there, but they drop a pink, clear it out, and Gragas dashes over the wall. They start doing the Baron. It's dying pretty quick, especially under the auto attacks from that Tristana. They have a pink that sees Nidalee on the other side of the wall here. Is she going to go for the steal? Gragas actually misses his ult entirely, but Nidalee jumps over the wall and does not get anything from it. Just simply gets exploded by the burst damage from blue team. Maokai flashes over the wall, but he smites a bit too early, goes down to the Tristana. Tristana now in a sort of 1v3 against Lissandra, Lulu, and Ezreal, manages to kill Ezreal and Lulu before having to flash away. Skarner chasing down, and it's a surrender from purple team. the blue team having Baron and the 10-0, is it 13-0 Tristana being a bit too much for them to handle. So there you have it. That's the first of hopefully 100 casts to come. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope even if you didn't enjoy it, you can tell me why. And I hope you'll stick around to watch the rest, or some of the rest at least, and give me some advice on what I could do better, what I can do worse, and whether or not you think I should pursue this, or if my voice sounds too much like a dying otter. I don't know. Whatever it is you want to tell me it in the comments. I'll read it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.